I've been a fan of Five Nights at Freddy's since I was in 3rd grade, all the way back when the 3rd game was first released. I remember buying all 3 available FNAF games, waiting for the 4th, getting so scared of the 4th that I still, to this day, have my reservations about playing it. I remember getting Sister Location when it first came out, getting stuck under the desk on night 2, even though that was the easy part of the night. I remember being shocked when Pizzeria Simulator was released because I didn't even know Scott was working on a pizzeria sim, let alone a whole 6th game disguised under the facade of a fun simulator. I remember waiting for the release of all the games following the 3rd one, and when it comes to the series nowadays, it's no different. I've been excited for Security Breach ever since it was announced, and I actually bought the game on December 17th, the day after it came out. I was busy that day, but I bought it, installed it, and from around 2 to 5 a.m. I played it. And over the following 8 or so days, I slowly but surely beat the game. And I gotta say, it's a mixed bag. On one hand, I really enjoy it, but on the other hand, I'm disappointed and angry at some of the design choices and gameplay elements that they decided to add to this game. And I know a lot of others are too. All in all, I wanted to make this video to share my thoughts and experience with the game. I'm going to split this video into 4 main parts: the gameplay, the glitches, my critiques, and my overall thoughts about it. So without further ado, here's the... This game's main gameplay focuses on you roaming around and gaining access to different parts of this huge mall, while everyone but Freddy is hunting you down. You're trapped in the mall from 12 to 6 a.m., and you have to play through different challenges and minigames in order to unlock new areas and find yourself a way out of the Pizzaplex. It's a cool concept and definitely a fresh step in the FNAF saga. The gameplay itself mainly consists of running around and trying to avoid the robots that are in the areas with you, which can get a bit tedious sometimes. Luckily, this isn't all you do. There are areas that give you different things to do. Phaser Blast lets you play laser tag and capture the flag. You get to fight back against the animatronics. There are more retro arcade games you get to play that are definitely for lore purposes, but I'll get to those more later. You get more parts and service missions, and you get to run around and turn on generators. That's most of the gameplay. Close to the ending of the game, you can either get a camera that will stun or disable some of the animatronics, or you can get a Phaser Blaster that temporarily stuns some of the animatronics. The Phaser Blaster is the better item in my opinion. It has more uses, so you can stun multiple animatronics or stun one animatronic multiple times.
Look at animation, man.
The only downside of getting the Phaser Blaster is that it makes a later section of the game a lot harder. The Phas camera instead only has one use before you have to wait for it to recharge, but on the other hand it has a wider range of use and will disable the endoskeletons as far as I can tell, which is useful, but the endos are only a threat like twice, and the first time you see them you won't have access to either the camera or the blaster, so it really doesn't matter. The gameplay gets really boring at times because in this game, in an attempt to allow you to have freedom and explore, it's very vague when telling you what to do. It puts save points around the entire place so that you can save wherever you are, but that also can give off the impression that you're heading in the right direction, when in reality, there is absolutely no reason for you to be in that area other than to open a present and get some prize. It took me 7 or 8 days to beat the game when I first played it, and that's because I spent hours per day trying to figure out where the hell I was supposed to go. The game also implements a choice feature that will come back to bite you. As I said, when given the choice, you can get a Phaser Blaster or Phas camera, depending on whether you go to Monty's Golf Course or Phaser Blast. The choice you make here determines which animatronic you fight first. This order doesn't particularly matter since you will eventually be able to fight all 3, but the order does affect the difficulty. The problem with this is, when you're choosing, you have nothing to base the difficulty off of because you don't know anything. When choosing, whatever you do it leads to the first demolishing sequence where you break one of the robots. Going to Monty's golf course means that you get to demolish Monty first, but going to Phaser Blast means you get to demolish Chica first. Chica is by far the easiest one to deal with, as you don't have to do much. You go to Phaser Blast, get the bowling ticket, go to the bowling alley, get the mystery mix, put it in the trash compactor, turn it on, and boom, Chica's crushed. Still functional, but crushed. Monty, on the other hand, is much harder. You go to the golf course, get the camera, get a ticket to Mazercise, where you then have to go to the theater, find a control key for the maze, get back to Mazercise, go to the control panel, push the buttons in the correct order, go through a vent, find Monty, and avoid him in a small area where you have to use blasters to fill a bucket that will fall and crush Monty. The Monty fight is by far one of the most annoying sequences in the game, and doing it as the last boss fight is even worse, because the game does something that's good in concept, but very poor in execution. After 6 AM, the doors open and you have the chance to escape, or you can stay and continue looking around the Pizzaplex. If you choose to stay, the game disables saves, and so if you die at basically any point, you go back to the choice to leave or stay, and you'll have to do everything all over again. If you choose Phaser Blast, you just directly screwed over your future self, because the Monty boss fight is hard enough, but if you don't have saves, you will have to repeat all the steps to get there over and over. The game locks hours of content behind this wall of no saves, and that is really poor. That's a really poor design choice, because there are multiple things to unlock that can only happen after 6 AM. And it's not like you have the choice to not lock saves, because once you reach a certain point in the game, you either have to get to an exit and lose saves, or you die. The sheer amount of stuff that is kept behind the wall of 6 AM is absurd. A whole boss fight is kept behind that point where you can't save, and then everything you can access with that boss's upgrade is also locked until you kill them. And any single mistake will send you back hours of time. How fair is that? Spoiler alert, it's not. In my first playthrough of the game, I went to Phaser Blast because I saw it first, not knowing that the other boss fight would be locked behind 6 AM. After beating Chica and Roxy, I was presented with the fact that I now had to beat the rest of the game on my first attempt, otherwise all of my hard work would be erased, and I would have to do it all over again. I died about 3 times when trying to fight Monty, because the fight is really hard, with Monty jumping through the ceiling and landing right on top of you. The robots have a tendency to kill you that way, but again, more on that later. The difficulty of this game changes a lot throughout the different segments included in it. The main roaming part is pretty simple. The robots will chase you if you're seen, but more often than not, you'll be able to successfully run away from them without being caught. Then there are security offices, which range from a very quick enter, grab item, and exit, to a 3D reimagining of FNAF where you actually get to move around instead of just pointing and clicking. I like the newer reimaginings of the usual FNAF formula. It's a lot more tense to see a huge 3D animatronic coming for you in a real 3D environment. I think that's part of the reason why Help Wanted worked so well, especially in VR, because the truth is, the initial idea of FNAF is terrifying in an actual environment. But this game doesn't live up to the horror standards of Help Wanted, because this game's not scary. The best moments of the game are when it can create tense environments, but tense doesn't necessarily mean scary. The only times I was ever truly scared during this game was during the endoskeleton hallway in Parts and Service, the map bots, and Princess Quest 3. The chase sequences were tense, and boss fights and chase sequences were tense as well, but a lot of the time, the game lacked the horror factor that makes a horror game scary. I feel like the fact that you know when the jump scares are coming makes it less impactful. The chase sequences are tense, but when you get caught, it's not scary because you already know you were being chased. It's only a matter of time before you got killed anyway. It's a problem with build-up, something that even the other games suffer from. The only running animation or a chase sequence that I would consider genuinely creepy is Vanny's. Just the way she runs at you, it's very goofy, but that's why it's creepy, at least to me. Her jump scare sucks, but she has the only chase sequence in the game that creeps me out.
Okay, hey, didn't know you were coming after. This is strange.
This game has a shit ton of glitches, and they range from being really funny to game-breaking and quite annoying. The amount of bugs and glitches this game has is insane to me, and how this is the full game is mind-boggling. It feels like it's an early access type things. There are so many bugs and glitches that are so easy to find and exploit that I'm shocked the game was even released. A team of people looked over this and thought, yep, they're good to go, and released a game that can be so easily broken that there are speedruns of it that are beaten in 3 minutes. And it isn't even because the game can be legitimately beaten in that time. The game is so broken you can exploit it to think that it's 6 a.m. And you aren't even supposed to be able to access that ending until it's 6 a.m. The fact that you can glitch the game into getting that far within 3 minutes is enough to tell you how broken the game is. But I'm going to talk about more glitches. There is a video that covers all the glitches that Markiplier encountered during his playthrough up to episode 7. And it was almost 8 minutes long. The fact that there is 8 minutes worth of content of just glitches alone is already a problem. In this compilation, you can see Mark run into phasing animatronics, the robots getting stuck, the robots and Gregory being moved through the daycare play center, floating arms, teleporting robots, and being able to access areas that aren't meant to be accessed. There's also Freddy, because he is quite broken to be honest. When you call Freddy over to you, he gets locked on the first ping. So assuming you get seen and call Freddy, no matter how many times you call him over, he will run past you to go to the first place where you called him. And that's what happened to Markiplier at the end of his 7th video. It's definitely the cause of much frustration, because as you can see, when you're in a situation where you need Freddy, he can and will run straight past you. It can also lead to something funny, like this, where you get into Freddy as he runs over, and if you do that, he will just continue to slide over to wherever you called him. There are also glitches that can and will actually ruin the experience of the game. When you get caught by a security bot, it summons one of the animatronics to your location. But, because they get teleported to your area, there is a chance that they will literally just spawn right on top of you. There's also the case of disappearing cameras. When I was getting one of the security badges, I died. And then, when I retried the level, the cameras were gone, and I had to actually step out of the office in order to look for the animatronics to see if they were coming after me. That then comes with the added risk of them seeing you and booking it towards the door. There's also the fact that you can die during cutscenes and the credits. This happened to me twice during the true ending of the game. I didn't record it the first time, but I was showing my friends when it happened, and then there was the second time I did it. And I did record it that time. I beat the final level. I got through the cutscene, and I was in the middle of the credits when the jump scare sound played, and it pulled me into the game over screen. Then there are glitches where the game will soft lock and keep you from progressing, such as right here in Phaser Blast. This glitch is what actually made me decide to make this video. I was working on getting the good ending, so I headed back to Phaser Blast to find Vanny's room. The only problem? I wasn't allowed to walk through an open door. So I went into the actual Phaser Blast game, and the game completely broke. I was invincible, and when I got all 3 flags, the game didn't end. The game soft-locked me into Phaser Blast past 6 a.m, and I lost all of my progress because I couldn't do anything. I couldn't leave, I couldn't win, nothing. The next glitch isn't game-breaking, but it shouldn't have happened. As I was finishing the mission where I tried to escape through the docks, I called Freddy and managed to get down into the trash area. This glitched the game into thinking that I had destroyed Chica, so it rendered her damage model. When I left the area, she went back to being fully functional and not broken. There was also a glitch that let me phase through a fence here. Not really that big of a deal because you can't jump off the platform, but still, why is the fence not a physical object? Anyway, saving the best for last, here's a glitch that makes the game better. Once you pass 6 a.m, if you choose to stay and continue playing, you can make your way to Roxy Raceway, where you'll find a damaged bot head on the floor. If you pick this up, the game will think it's 5:15 a.m. and will re-enable saves. This way, you won't lose any progress if you die. But the only problem is, I'm pretty sure it locks you in the game, so the only ending you can get is the true ending, where you use all the upgrades to get under the Pizzaplex and have the final battle. That's the only issue with it. The ability to save after 6 a.m. made the game so much better. I can say with 100% certainty that once I had the ability to save it again, I had a lot more fun exploring the Pizzaplex and unlocking secrets. This is something that I'm adding after the fact because I didn't write it in my script, but I still wanted to talk about it when I realized that I forgot it. There was one glitch that I experienced where I was caught by Vanessa despite being in the Freddy suit. I'm not sure exactly how this happened, but because I was in the Freddy suit when I was caught, it took me into parts and service with Freddy. But the game also locked me inside of Freddy, so I couldn't get out and I couldn't get access to the screwdriver to escape parts and services, which really sucked because it trapped me in the room and let Vanny kill me and ruin that life. Well, not life, but you know what I mean. It made me redo it. Either way, after I had the chance to redo it, I was able to beat it because I wasn't with Freddy anymore, because he wasn't even supposed to be there. So I don't understand why just the fact that I was in Freddy made it so that he was in the room with me. It shouldn't be so easy to break this game. I don't understand why this can happen. I've mentioned a few of my criticisms in the other segments, but I'm going to focus more on the criticisms for this segment. My main complaints about this game come from the lack of saves after 6 a.m. When I glitched the game to be able to save, as I mentioned, I had a lot more fun, but as soon as I went back to 6 a.m. and lost the ability to save, the game became a lot more tedious and annoying. I sent this text to my friend literally right after I lost my saves again. It said, "It's surprising how this game can go from being so much fun to being so annoying." The Monty boss fight is ridiculously hard in comparison to the difficulty of the other two bosses, especially because Monty is the only animatronic that you can't stun. His sunglasses make him immune to the Phaser Blaster and Phaz Camera, meaning that no matter which one you get, he's gonna be a huge pain until you destroy him. The difficulty skyrockets during this boss fight because Monty jumps around and has the possibility to land directly on top of you. While this doesn't kill you, it's really annoying because you have no way of knowing where he's gonna land until you see him, and sometimes, by the time you see him, it's too late. When he jumps, his model disappears, so there is literally no way of knowing where he's going to land until he lands. And even then, if you don't see him land, you have to look around and try to find him, which could take a while. I died 3 times and lost all the progress I had each time. The prize counter ending is the only ending that I haven't gotten, and that's because I kept dying when I tried to get Monty's claws, and I didn't want to go through all that work, only to lose it all again in one death. I also really dislike how you can die during the cutscenes and credits. The fact that you can die after beating the game is really cheap and annoying. I'm pretty sure it can only happen during the true ending, but either way, I'm not going to replay an entire boss fight in order to get that cutscene after the credits, because I shouldn't have to. And the fact that even if I beat it again, there is always a chance that I could get killed in the credits again. This is the one clip I missed because I died in the credits. It is way too little to redo the whole thing for. I find the endings cool, and I think that the comics are used to explain that the endings aren't canon, which is a fun concept. But enough with things I like, I have more complaints. Vanny was set up to be an antagonist for this game, the main antagonist, in the trailers, the teasers, and in Help Wanted, only to be in this game for a very small amount of time. She shows up about 3 times during the main gameplay, and then disappears after you get Freddy to parts in service. She only comes back for some of the endings, which is really disappointing because it could be really interesting to explore a story about a killer who's being coerced into doing this. There are so many possibilities to have her be part of this game, chasing you, actually being a threat, and having a story that goes beyond the very small role she was given. I also don't like the role they gave to Afton in this game. Again, it's wasted potential, especially because they built Afton up to be a different threat, a psychological one, because he was an AI virus that was taking control of people and coercing them into doing what he wanted, which was murder. Him and Vanny were meant to be the villains, but instead, Vanny was wasted, Afton was changed and wasted, and then he seemingly gets killed by Blob, which is either Ennard or a new animatronic that we haven't met, but they still have Funtime Freddy's face, so I'm assuming it's meant to be Ennard in some shape or form. Either way, this boss fight should have been an ending where you fight Vanny, the main villain of the game. Or, if you really wanted to have Afton as a final boss, have some setup. Afton was set up to be a consciousness, not a physical entity, so his inclusion as Springtrap or Burntrap or whatever you want to call him doesn't make sense. Either way, with a seemingly true ending, Afton still exists in his AI form, and Vanny is still out there. So maybe, in the future, we can see an actual good story be told where the villains have a major role, and they aren't just sidelined. I've been pretty negative throughout this section especially, so I want to end off with something that I think is really cool. And while it is something I wish was expanded upon a bit more, it's something I still think is really cool. When you go down the broken elevator and head towards the final battle with Afton, you find this building, which is an old, dirty, broken Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. This alone is pretty cool, but the best part is, it's the pizzeria from Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator, which is tied for my favorite FNAF game. You can tell by the design of the pizzeria, 2 stages, one small round one that can only fit one animatronic, another big rectangular one that's bigger and can fit more robots, the stars on the walls match the Rockstar animatronics, the checkered floor, as well as the name of the establishment itself. Freddy Fazbear's Pizza Place is the exact name of the building shown in Pizzeria Simulator's ending cutscenes. Compare all of this to the fully upgraded pizzeria in Pizzeria Simulator and you can tell that it's the same one, and I think that's awesome. I feel like MatPat examining all of this evidence. This is just a personal thing for me because I love Pizzeria Simulator, but I wish there was a bit more done with the pizzeria location under the Pizzaplex. Maybe just like a bit more ability to explore it more than just the one room. But that's just me. FNAF holds a special place in my heart since it's the only game series I've actively followed since I was 8 years old, hence why I have mixed feelings about this game. I know I've been trashing on it a lot, but my experience with it hasn't actually been too bad. It's actually really fun to just run around and spend time exploring and discovering secrets. Some of the most fun I had was after 6 AM. I did the glitch to get saves and I ran around exploring. Then I played a Balloon Boy arcade minigame for about 2 hours. Exploring, playing that arcade game, and playing Princess Quest were the highlights of the game for me. I know there are more secrets to discover and a whole other ending that I didn't get, but as of right now I'd say I've had a pretty fulfilling experience with this game. I have a lot of criticisms and things that I wish were done better or expanded upon more, but overall, as long as saves were enabled, this game is quite fun and I had a great time playing it. I think despite its flaws, the game manages to still be a fun experience, and that's all you really need when playing a game. Anyways, thank you for watching this video. If you agree or disagree with my review, I'd like to hear your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to see more of my content, and until then, I have a ton of other videos you can watch. Until next time, have a good night, or day, I don't really know when you're watching this. Goodbye!